For these Conservatives, this is the sound of taking back control. A new splinter group, the Conservative Democratic Organisation, held their first ever conference today with a not so subtle message to the party leadership.
We haven't covered ourselves in glory. And in fact, some parts of Westminster and colleagues have done a better job at damaging our party than the opposition, even the left-wing campaign groups. We have seen the ousting of a democratically elected, in fact, our most electorally successful Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher. And we should pay tribute, actually, not just to Boris, but to all of you at the grassroots, because I'm no fan of December general elections, but if we can have them again and again and get 80-seat majorities, and quite frankly, it's worth it.
The group have drawn in some pretty big names, though not the one MP some people had hoped.
Big Boris fan.
But if you want to win next general election, you've got to stop pointing out his faults to everyone else and just let his charm come through.
And Boris has really got that ability to connect.
But if he were to run again, would you support him?
I don't think I should answer that at the moment.
Look, this is not about Boris Johnson. This is about the members of the Conservative Party. If he was badly treated, let the members have their say. And whatever the members say about that, then we support that.
And obviously this comes at a time when local elections didn't go so well for your party.
They were terrible, yeah.
Whose fault? Whose fault was that? Was that the Prime Minister's?
Well, I think it's certainly the members were not as well engaged. I mean, if you don't have the members supporting the leadership and the party and because they feel disenfranchised, it's very hard to win seats because you need people out campaigning. So
you think the grassroots don't believe in Rishi anymore?
The feedback I'm getting is that it's not so much they don't believe in him, they never believed him in the first place.
Greetings, Conservative Democracy Organisation. It's Boris Johnson here.
He did make a virtual appearance, though not completely across the name of the new group.
Is it a pro-Boris Johnson event or an anti-Rishi Sunak?
It's neither. It's actually about democracy within the Conservative Party, how you elect the leader, how you select candidates, to revitalise a mass membership organisation.
Priti Patel seems to think that leadership was the reason that you did so badly as a party in the local elections. What do you think was the reason you did so badly?
Last year, 2022, was not in the annals of the Tory party a golden year, and after that you would expect some electoral consequence. I don't think one should be surprised by doing badly under those circumstances, but Rishi Sunak's a relatively new leader. I think to blame him would be unreasonable. And I don't speak as his greatest flag waver, but he is the leader of the party and I want to support him.
A sprinkle of supportive MPs is perhaps not a revolt, but after a bruising set of local elections, councillors here said they felt it the most.
We lost our leader, we lost our deputy leader, we lost everybody else. There's only 2 members of the previous cabinet that are still there.
Would it be a good thing for the party to be in opposition?
I think sometimes parties do need to reset.
I'm still a member of the Conservative Party, but if this group doesn't take off and we don't take back control, I'm going elsewhere where people will listen. Why are we members? Just so we can knock on doors for them and then not believe in what we're trying to tell them will happen? It's pretty awful at the moment.
Well, the local MP in Bournemouth, where today's conference is taking place, is Tobias Ellwood. He's declined the new group's invitation to take back control from the leadership, but he joins me now. Tobias Ellwood, when you see recently departed cabinet ministers lining up to take pot shots at the government, is it the start of a Tory civil war?
Yeah, that's the worry. Many colleagues are absolutely baffled given the progress that we've made after a miserable political year. You know, polls are slowly narrowing. We have a fighting chance of winning the next general election. Yes, as been reported there, the election results were grim. But down here in Bournemouth, this was about punishing the Conservative Party rather than rallying to any party, particularly Labour's cause. So it seems very opportunist by these groups.
Well, but Priti Patel
to then blame the current Prime Minister on the local election results and even hint at the idea that we would then replace a Prime Minister again before the general election. We must stand together. We must fight together. Then we have a fighting chance of winning in 2024.
Well, Jacob Rees-Mogg, among others, made clear that he didn't want to get rid of Rishi Sunak. It wasn't about getting rid of any Prime Minister. But Priti Patel, when she said that those catastrophic election results that you talk about, she said that it's because the leadership was out of touch. Does she have a point there?
Well, the leadership that was out of touch was Boris Johnson, which is why I think over 50 ministers resigned, I think, in a single day. That's never, ever happened before. And then I'm afraid we repeated something equally as bad, which is where we lost touch of our fiscal responsibilities that we're really known for under Liz Truss. Now we have calm. We have a sense of a measure of responsibility, statecraft returning to number 10. It is absolutely baffling that we now have groups that are wanting to, to ruffle the feathers in this way. Get behind the Prime Minister. Let's hear Boris Johnson say that. He's one of our better communicators we have in the party. Let's not kill off for a chance to win the next general election, take us into civil war, which means we'll probably lose the election after that as well.
Well, Priti Patel says that Boris Johnson was a vote-winning political giant and Rishi Sunak just isn't in the same league. Do you think they've written off your chances of winning the next election? And maybe that's right.
That really is to rewrite history absolutely, completely. We were losing by-elections. We were behind in the polls. And most importantly, we were hemorrhaging trust with the British people. I absolutely agree that Boris Johnson remains hugely popular from our base. But we need to look beyond our base if we are to win the next general election. We need to put the nation first. This is what our party historically has done. Any prime minister that does this, going back to Disraeli or Baldwin or even Margaret Thatcher herself, wins. When you just appeal to your base on our side, or indeed with Labour under Corbyn, you're never going to win the general election.
Do you think that the people there were listening to these warnings? Because they did slightly pull their punches by the end of the day.
I hope they do. I hope they recognise that, as I say, of course, things are tough. We have some policy refinements to do, not least on things like housing and so forth. But the concept of us not supporting Rishi Sunak, given where he's taken us to, where number 10 is now returning to landing things like the Windsor Framework, the AUKUS deal, the Paris summit that actually took place, these, and then our support for Ukraine. This is all what number 10 should be doing. Our party needs to be rallying behind our Prime Minister. And when you have small groups like this, it then not only makes us look disorganized, it suggests that we don't have the passion to want to win the next election. This isn't 1997 in one sense. There's no Tony Blair, some rock star, walking into number 10. Keir Starmer is not that. As we go nearer to the next election, Labour will be scrutinised ever further. The polls will get closer and closer. Give us a fighting chance. Everybody needs to rally behind the Prime Minister. Right. And I challenge Boris Johnson to step up to the plate and then show that he is supportive of Rishi Sunak.
Tobias Elwood, thanks very much. Well, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, says his party is getting ready for a dirty and nasty campaign in the run-up to next year's general election. Sir Keir told a conference of progressive activists the party faced a challenge in winning back working-class voters and getting back into office, and said he was prepared to change Labour's entire culture.
Some people think that all we're doing is distancing ourselves from the previous regime. Well, we are, but that misses the point. This is about taking our party back to where we belong and where we should have always been. Back doing what we were created to do. We've been drifting away from working people for a long time, and that's unforgivable.